everybody. It's Corie Weathers. It is November 7th. And I know it's dinner time for a lot of you guys, and Facebook has been crazy today. And if you missed the announcement about the Lifegiver Blue Bracelet with Charlie Madison, I am jumping on to make kind of a double announcement. Wendy and I were really hoping that we could get together and do kind of a talk together on Facebook, and Facebook has just been really challenging today. Including me trying to upload this was even challenging, or at least getting online. So I wanted to just take a couple minutes, because I know it's evening time for a lot of you guys, to tell you about the collaboration with Charlie Madison that I'm so excited about. It's been on my mind for a very long time to make a blue bracelet with Charlie Madison. And so I reached out to her recently, and it's happened, and I'm super excited. So I want to tell you about it and give you some more information about it. And I know some of you guys have questions. So if you have a blue bracelet, or you have worn a blue bracelet, the paracord bracelet that went with Sacred Spaces, the book, I'd love for you to just make a comment or say something in here that lets me know that you're watching. And if you have questions, please make sure you ask me while we're doing this live, because I know that there's people out there that have questions. So first, a little bit of a backstory. What is this whole blue bracelet about? So when I launched Sacred Spaces, if you can see up there on my bookshelf, when I launched Sacred Spaces in 2015, I just knew that just reading the story, just reading the book was kind of not enough. I didn't want people to be voyeurs in my life and just kind of read the story and say, gee, wasn't that a nice story? I really wanted people to see themselves in the story. I really wanted readers to think about how it applies to their life. And that's been my favorite thing. Even today, I was doing an interview actually with somebody earlier today. And they were telling me that Sacred Spaces really made an impact in their marriage and their ability to talk with their spouse and just find some better communication, to connect a little bit better and easier in their kind of separate worlds that are now combined, especially if you're reintegration. But I've also talked with so many first responders and first responder couples, and how Sacred Spaces has been really meaningful to them, that we can have these two separate lives, that you can have a service member or a serving spouse that is out there on the line of duty, or that is going on deployments, and they have their own experiences that are really hard to understand and hard to convey when they come back home. And that you as a spouse, whether you work or not, that your experience supporting them in that lifestyle is equally challenging. And how do we as couples communicate through that? Here at Leavenworth right now, I'm actually leading a group for spouses on Wednesday. So if you're watching this and you're at Fort Leavenworth, just so you know, Wednesday mornings and Wednesday evenings, we are doing a spouse group, because I found that it's really hard to find counseling when you need it. And I'm only here for a year. And so I thought, what could I do? So I'm going to do a group every Wednesday, and that's really turned into a really fantastic opportunity for spouses to get together and just talk about how we're doing and what we need and how we can be better and for ourselves and in our marriage. And so I was even talking with them this past week about how hard it is for us to convey to each other in our marriages what our unique experience of the lifestyle is. That the serving spouse has quite a challenge of conveying what it's like to be a serving spouse, and the supporting spouse equally has their own challenges. So that's what the book Sacred Spaces was really about. And the idea and the concept of Sacred Spaces was, how do we communicate better? How do we be more intentional in our marriages to communicate just a little bit better? So when I put the book out, I wanted people to be mindful of how they could pursue their spouse just a little bit more. How could we communicate instead of kind of harboring resentment, instead of kind of harboring the difficulty of the lifestyle and allowing that to come between you and your spouse? How could we instead pursue our spouse, be thoughtful of our spouse, be thinking about how we really want to always be working on our marriage, always be thinking of how we can grow personally, be better, do better. And that's really a tough thing to ask, especially, well, I think serving spouses and supporting spouses. But if I were just talking to spouses, it's a really tough ask. That I know we have a lot of weary spouses out there, and to ask them to work harder, I knew was a tough ask. But I also knew it was the right thing to do. We should never stop pursuing our spouse. We should never stop working on our marriage. So when I put the book out, I, to my launch team, had given out blue paracord bracelets that they could put on their wrist. And as they were reading the book, that they would make a commitment to work on one thing in their marriage, just pursue one small thing that they could do every single day. And that blue bracelet would remind them every single day that I'm going to do this one small act of kindness in my marriage. And so the launch team took off with this idea, and I know one spouse that did it for 365 days, and she wanted to see how would it revolutionize her marriage if for 365 days straight she did one act of kindness or something intentional in her marriage, and it completely changed their marriage around. So then, as I started to work with more couples and tell them about sacred spaces, the blue bracelet really took off, and it just was this simple paracord bracelet that people wore. It was blue in that it was kind of patriotic, and it was blue in that it kind of went with everything if you're thinking about fashion. It was paracord in that you could wear it for 365 days straight and never take it off. You could go to the pool, you could wear it in the shower, and it was a very simple thing. And it was just that daily reminder that you didn't even have to take it off if you didn't want to. And so over the years, the blue bracelet has really taken off, and it's been so sweet to me to see so many people still wearing their blue bracelets. There's so many spouses that I've gotten to go to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Aaron is watching this right now, and I spent some time with Aaron, was out there at Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And so many of those spouses in Wyoming that we would sit around the bonfire, we would talk about sacred spaces. And Wyoming itself was a sacred space because you can't explain how life-changing it is to be in the Teton Mountains with other spouses talking about the lifestyle and growing individually and making that commitment to go home and be better for yourself, be better for your marriage, and have that not be life-changing. And so for these spouses in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, we passed around blue paracord bracelets to make that sacred spaces commitment to say, we're going to work on our marriage and we're going to work on us. And that's what that blue bracelet represents. And so the blue bracelet just kind of took off, and more people would reach out to me and say, how do I get a blue paracord bracelet? And how do I do the Sacred Spaces Challenge? And it's been a wonderful thing that I would continue to encourage anybody out there that you can get a blue paracord bracelet if you want to and make this challenge. You can get a rubber band if you want to and put it on your wrist and make this commitment to say, I'm going to do this one act of kindness in my marriage and see if it changes my marriage. So that's the history behind the blue bracelet. So for a while now, even like when I first launched the blue bracelet, I thought to myself when the book was coming out, I wish that I could make it like a really elegant blue bracelet for military spouses and first responder spouses. I wish that there was an elegant version of it that was meaningful and that was beautiful, because marriage is beautiful. And the blue paracord is awesome. And I would encourage those of you that still have your blue paracord bracelets to keep those, because it is a sacred moment in time that you put that blue bracelet on and it was that meaningful to you. And so that's one big question I'm getting is, should it replace my blue paracord bracelet? And I'm saying not necessarily. That each time we do something like this, that we can create a new intention, and that's good for intentions to evolve. But I've always had in the back of my mind, what would it be like to have something that is meaningful and beautiful and elegant, that to me also represents marriage, that marriage is a beautiful thing, that it's an elegant thing, and it's something that is a priceless thing, and that I appreciate that marriage is that meaningful to all of us. And so I'd always in the back of my mind wished or hoped that the blue bracelet could be something that is beautiful on our wrist, that reminds us of that beauty. And so, but I just back then didn't feel like, I mean, I don't make bracelets. I don't know how to make bracelets. I don't think I'm called to make bracelets. But then Charlie Madison was popping up all over the place, and I started seeing their bracelets. And what I love about Wendy at Charlie Madison is that she kind of had the same thought in my mind, that that bracelets and these can have sentimental value and can mean something, and they can be a reminder of something that you're working on, that you can intentionally wear something, and that intentionality, every time you look at your wrist and you see something that you have intentionally put on for that day, that it can mean something and remind you of whatever it is that you're wanting it to mean. So when I saw Charlie Madison doing kind of the same concept, I was like, that's it. That's who can make the blue bracelet that I've had in my mind. So I recently reached out to Charlie Madison, and I got to speak with Wendy, and I shared with her my vision, and I told her the story about the blue bracelet, and we both got really excited because we both know that psychologically when you make a commitment and then you have a reminder of that commitment every single day, you're more likely to reach that goal, you're more likely to do that thing that you're wanting to do. So we went back and forth and talked a lot, and I really put a lot of careful thought, and so did Wendy, into the Lifegiver bracelet. And I'm so excited to share it with you. And I know Wendy has already shared it with you, so I'm kind of doing like a double here. But I wanted to personally walk you guys through the blue bracelet and show it to you and explain my heart to you behind the blue bracelet, because it is available. In fact, I'm going to put the link there where you can see it for yourself if you'd like to. Oh, good, the image pops up. It's so beautiful. Okay, so this is the Lifegiver bracelet, and I'm going to try to bring it really close where you can see it. It is so beautiful, and so I want you to know that Wendy and I put a lot of thought into the kind of blue, the colors blue, all the different blues that are in this. And so there's actually 3 different stones that are used for the blue on this bracelet. That's really hard for you to tell just even on the screen and through a camera, but it's really gorgeous. We went back and forth, and I love how it evolves. So I love how it evolves from a lighter blue to the darker blue that's here by the knot, and that all those blues really tie into the blue paracord that so many people are familiar with. But Wendy worked so hard to get my vision not only right, but something that felt right to both of us. And I really appreciate that hard work and that thoughtfulness behind her craft, because she's so good at it. So it's the same color blue, but what I really want to draw your attention to that's really new and that's amazingly just really cool to me is I always had in my mind that I didn't want it to be just the simple blue bracelet. I wanted it to be, because it's something that's different from paracord, I wanted it to have that kind of extra meaning to it. And so I told Wendy, I said, I just have in my mind that there needs to be the blue on there, but it needs to have these 2 stones that represent your marriage in the bracelet. And so we went back and forth, and I thought to myself, I really kind of in the back of my mind, well, here's actually the story behind it. I actually met somebody who was selling a different stone bracelet locally, and she said, pick out whichever one you want, and for the fun of it, I'll tell you what the stone means. And so I picked out this pink because I thought pink was pretty, right? So I picked up the pink bracelet, and then I took it to her, and she was like, you know what pink? And she has no idea who I am and what I do, by the way. But she goes, okay, so for the fun of it, because there's no like supernatural thing here, but she was like, for the fun of it, the rose quartz, the pink quartz, which those of you there was one year in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where we had a yoga instructor that gave us rose quartz hearts, that I still have that stone. And I remember that just I loved it. I just thought it was really neat. Well, this lady was telling me that the rose quartz represented honesty. It represented communication and love. And I just about collapsed there at the register, because she had no idea that what I do for a living is communication. And those of you who listen to even the Lifegiver podcast, the tagline is honest conversation, right? That honesty means a lot to me in marriage, and that when we communicate, that we should be honest with ourselves and honest with our spouse. So I went to Wendy and I said, is there a way that we can incorporate rose quartz into the bracelet somehow? And what she sent back to me was amazing. And I knew instantly it was exactly the bracelet that I wanted. The exact design was perfect. And I love the fact that Wendy was like, that's the one I chose too, because she gave me several different options. So I want to show to you that on every bracelet there is, let's see if I can get a close up. I'll pull it back just a little bit until it gets focused. It's really hard to tell. Probably there is best. Okay. But on every bracelet, there is 2 rose quartz stones. And what I love about the stones is that they're unfinished. They're not polished. They're actually called rose quartz nuggets. And I love the fact that there's nothing that's separating them. There's no stone, there's no separator, there's nothing. It's just 2 rose quartz. Let me see if I can show this. 2 rose quartz nuggets that are unfinished that are almost like they're kissing each other, which I think is super sweet. And so I want to actually read to you what the card is, what it says, because this is what you're going to get when you order the bracelet. You're going to get several. Well, first of all, you're going to get the amazing packaging from Charlie Madison, which is beautiful. You'll get a description on the amazing things that Charlie Madison is doing. And you'll also get these 2 cards that go with this bracelet. And what you will get is the description of the stones itself and the story behind the blue bracelet. But this is what I love about the rose quartz. It actually says, the Lifegiver bracelet keeps the same blue color theme, but adds 2 rose quartz stones that symbolize 2 unfinished souls that are challenged to forgive, open their hearts, heal emotional wounds, and establish peace. And that was exactly what I wanted those 2 stones to represent. So to me, you'll also get this card where you can actually do your new Sacred Spaces challenge, where you can actually make a new challenge. If you've done this before with a blue bracelet, you can make a new challenge. You can have one that symbolizes Jackson Hole, Wyoming. You can have this one that symbolizes something else specific. I've known some that have worn their blue paracord bracelet to a military ball and didn't care that they had blue paracord on their wrist. This is one of those that you could put on for that. It's really whatever you need it to be. And I tell people all the time, when you're trying to come up with whatever this challenge is going to be in the show, why is my camera not like focusing on? You can't see. Oh, there. Now if I turn it, there's a place for you to write on the card what you want your challenge to be. When people ask me, how do I come up with a challenge? I just have to remind you that you know what you should be doing to work on your marriage. There's always something that's in the back of your mind that you're saying, I probably could do that better. Or my spouse has been asking me to do this or that, and I've been putting it off for a long time. So it's never something that I can be the one to tell you, this is what you should work on. You probably already know what you should be working on. And most people don't have a problem actually coming up with what that is. But that's what that bracelet for that season can mean for you. And so that's kind of the gist behind you having the new Sacred Spaces Lifegiver Bracelet, where you can actually focus on working on your marriage. Now, here's the other fun thing, because a lot of you are first responders out there. Wendy just this week released first responder bracelets too. So there's a new firefighter bracelet. And Wendy, I don't know if you're watching. If you happen to be watching still, please feel free to post a link to the firefighter and Leo bracelets that you just launched this week, because they are beautiful. And of course, she also has the military ones. There's one for Army and Marines and Navy and all that kind of stuff. And they would be perfect for you to pair with the Lifegiver, because Charlie Madison makes these bracelets to be stackable. So that's one of the reasons why I like this. I love the paracord for what it's for. So don't stop doing your paracord if that's what you're doing. But if you would like kind of a new challenge or something to take it to the next level, or you're ready for that meaningful thing, maybe you're in a new season and you're just ready to evolve or something, right? Or you'll just know if it's the right thing for you. You can actually get these to be stackable. Thank you, Wendy, so much for putting that up. She just posted the firefighter. It's gorgeous. The Leo one she's about to post there here in just a minute. Also gorgeous. But they're great for them to be stackable, right? So you can have the Lifegiver bracelet next to your firefighter bracelet, next to your Leo bracelet, next to your Army or your Navy. And it is that reminder that I'm working on my marriage, but that I'm also proud that I'm in a service-related marriage, and that I love that about myself, and that I can be proud of who I am and proud of this lifestyle. And even though it's difficult, that I can choose to remember the good things about it, that I cannot carry resentment. And maybe that's what you're being intentional about, right? Because there's plenty of things that we can complain about. It's really about how do we move forward. And we sometimes do need that reminder that I need to remember how much I actually like this lifestyle too. And maybe that can be that reminder. So I'm super excited about the Lifegiver bracelet, and I'm super excited about, oh, Erin, thank you so much for ordering. It's so, so pretty. And I hope you really enjoy it. And if I could just if I could afford to give it to everybody who has a blue paracord bracelet right now, I would totally do that. And honestly, you know, this really goes a lot to Wendy, to her craft. And I love the fact that I can support somebody who's excellent at what they do. Some of her bracelets you can use as diffusers. So if you're into essential oils and that sort of thing, I think it also ties into the whole sacred spaces thing, where, you know, a lot of our marriage, the shared spaces that we can create, the shared memories of joy that we can create with our spouse, are often best when they're multisensory. And so that's what I love about the diffuser bracelets, bracelets is that they can be kind of that multi-sensory experience, that reminder that it's not just something I'm seeing on my wrist, that I smell it too. And that is that more intentional, I am making this multi-sensory choice to do something better for my marriage. And so I really hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you love it as much as I do. I'm very sentimental when it comes to jewelry that I wear. In fact, the one that I'm wearing right now, the necklace that I'm wearing, is actually from my mom. And so there's things that I wear intentionally as kind of the symbolic, whatever I need to kind of be thoughtful of that day. And so that's why I knew the bracelet, as far as the paracord bracelet, was the right way to go originally, and still is. And that's why I love this idea of partnering with Charlie Madison to create this one too, because it also is meaningful. And so when I put it on, it reminds me of the beauty of marriage. It reminds me of the kind of elegant person that I want to be in my marriage, even if the use of my words. The rose quartz to me reminds me that I'm also just as unfinished and flawed and in need of grace. And so when I look down at my wrist and I see these two nuggets, it reminds me that I need as much. What I love is that they look the same. You know what I mean? They're two nuggets that look the same. And that reminds me, I'm a flawed human being. My spouse is a flawed human being. I need just as much forgiveness and grace for being flawed as he needs that from me. And it's a mutual thing that has to go back and forth. And so when I'm frustrated, I can be reminded that he's probably also at times frustrated with me. Not also, like, he kind of, it's going to be a daily thing, right? And so that's the thing. That's what's meaningful to me, and that's what I think of when I look at it. And I hope that you enjoy it just as much and you see just as much beauty in it yourself. And I would love to hear from you guys. So if you order it, please let me know. All these orders are going through Wendy, so I'm not touching any of the orders. So I'd love to know if you're ordering. Erin has already said that she's ordering. And if anybody else does, please let me know. Please spread the word on it if you think it's as beautiful as I do. And I would love to actually also hear if you're making a new challenge. What's that new seasonal challenge that you're making? We're going into winter, into the holidays. It's a great time to pursue your spouse. Don't wait till Valentine's Day to do that. I got flowers from Matt today, and it was just like, it just made me so happy. And so we can do that same thing for our spouse, right? We don't need to always be in receive mode. It's something that we can do back too. So I won't keep you guys any longer. It's been long enough, but I hope that you love it as much as I do. Please leave some comments and let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you order one and when you get it and what you think about it. So take a picture of it and tag me and tag Charlie Madison in your picture on Instagram or on Facebook. And if you order her firefighter and her Leo ones, in fact, I think I'm going to order both a firefighter and a Leo. I already have what I feel like is my military one, but I think I'm going to order a firefighter and Leo because I can wear it with my Lifegiver, and it reminds me of my calling every day to serve you guys. And that's what I'm excited to do, because I have you guys on my mind every day, and it's something that I want to be more intentional to even just pray over you guys as couples. Marriage is not easy. It's not meant to be easy. But if we do it together, and if we try to put our best selves out there to our spouse and our kids every day, I think we can not only change our marriages, but we can change our family tree. And maybe we start that today. So thank you guys for listening in. I am going into my sabbatical. You'll see me a little bit on here or there. But just know that I'm out here. I'd love to hear from you guys. Tag me and Charlie Madison when you get your bracelets so we can see them on your wrist, and tell us what you think about them. So I hope you have a great night. Thank you for enjoying the celebration with us as we've made the announcement today. I hope you have a great night. Love your spouse and your kids tonight, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.